Anderson by nature.
Well, Alex, I will stop to your...
Stop there. Sorry.
No, it's nice. I mean, it's nice, but I see people coming and so on. And then I will, let me say, start this webinar. And maybe one day we can do a webinar on women and sustainability as well, which is very, very good. So I welcome you today, everybody. I see Alexander there. And it's really with great pleasure that I welcome Alexandre and Mallika for this webinar called with the title Unstoppable Together, How Couples Turn Their Relationship into a Business Superpower. And this webinar is organized by the GlobalWo.MenHub. And very shortly, the hub is a non-for-profit organization under Belgium law, financed by its members, donations, sponsorship, and also supported heavily by the involvement of its members. And our vision is to reinvent gender equality by going from parity to synergy between genders. And our mission is to implement that vision in practice, of course, which is one quite always difficult. And the first practice is to disseminate practical solution. And the practical solution is the couple that will be speaking and today and telling how they do to rise and to drive. And the webinar will be moderated by Magali Anderson. And Magali is a board member of the Hub, and she is also a board member of Anglo and Capital Coalitions. And she is looking at the interconnectedness of our planet's natural, social, human, and produce capital. Now, she is really very in favor of sustainability. She is an angel investor for ESG Impact, a venture partner, and she was also the Chief Sustainability Officer at Holcim. And she has in her heart this synergy, this gender synergy. Magali, I leave you the word.
Thank you, Christine. Wow. Nice presentation. I love it. I'm going to record it and play it every time I meet somebody.
I forgot to say we will record. We are recording this webinar. And if you have a question, you can use the chat or the flag so that we can give you the word. Sorry, I forgot that.
Thanks, Christine. So I'm really, really happy to be here today. And I'm really happy because it's going to be a real pleasure to moderate this seminar today with a great couple. And well, first of all, before I go into the introductions of who is who, I want to explain a little bit why we are having that webinar. So GlobalWo.MenHub particularity, and I've been working with Christine for many years now, is really looking at challenging the gender stereotypes, but in collaboration with men, which makes us maybe a little bit different from a lot of other organizations. So it's not the first webinar that I'm moderating with couples, actually. And I'm really interested myself in the dynamic of couples, of how we can reinvent it, and how the maybe traditional way, and which is sometimes in certain geographies coming back in force, can be completely challenged with a lot of success. So I love having those discussions. And here we are looking at two people who have co-founded a company together. So venturing into new territories of not only being at home together, but not only working together, but co-funding together. And really the underlying question that is going to drive this entire seminar will be, can a couple be more effective as co-founders than two unrelated individuals? And how does it work? What are the tricks? What are the tips that you can share with us to make it work? Because I'm going to kill the suspense here. It is working. So you don't have to wait for the end of the seminar to find that out. But how did we get there? It's really what's going to be very interesting. So I'm going to start with who are you, Mallika and Alex? So Mallika, we met in an organization called CDL, Creative Destruction Lab, quite a few years ago, where we were both mentoring startups. And what I know about Mallika is she's a super energetic. I am super energetic. I think I found a master here, which is not easy, believe me. And she's a real problem solver. In fact, there's no problems with Mallika. There's only solutions. But Mallika, I turn to you first. So tell me, who are you? And tell me more about yourself, not just on a professional point of view, but also as a person, as a wife of Alex. I don't know if you want to be defined that way, but
Yeah.
maybe you're
The other
happy
way
with that.
around. I'm
Or
Mallika's
Alex as a
husband.
husband
That's the
of,
way it was.
and so go ahead.
Oh, thank you. No,
The space is yours, Mallika.
that's really lovely. So I would describe myself as a couple of things. One is a global nomad because I have lived and grown up in a ton of different countries, and we have lived together also overseas in many places. Secondly, I would say I'm a capitalist for impact. I've always really had the sense of paying it forward, giving back, but really believing that business can make it happen. And then third, I would say I am a devoted wife and mother. To me, my family really is everything. And I try to be the best that I can every single day. I believe very strongly in learning. So I have a love of learning, and my husband knows very well that every time I figure out something I don't know, I'm like, I gotta go figure it out, learn it, and then apply it to something. I have a very strong sense of community, and I've always taken the time, whether it's, again, as Max said, seeing a problem, like there's a lack of community, I'm going to create an association, I'm going to bring people together, I'm going to help them. So I've always had that, and I've done it throughout my life since I was a teenager. And lastly, I really believe very strongly in giving back and paying it forward. I've been very lucky in my life. I've had many, good experiences, also challenges like everyone else. And I feel a strong duty to pay it forward and give back to others. So that's me.
Thanks, Mallika. So, Alex, do you want to introduce yourself? I don't know you as well as I know Mallika, so I'm not going to make the same introduction. For me, you are Mallika's husband, but what else are you? Who are you?
Don't worry. It's you applied the typical consulting approach, 80-20 rule. So Mallika is the 80% and I'm the 20% left, and I'm fine with that. Don't worry. I'm used to it. So I would say one way to describe myself is simply I'm Mallika's husband, but and quite often this is the way I've introduced myself to some people when we're in Australia or we're in Kuwait. They say, oh yeah, that's you're Mallika's wife. So that's why I'm. But beyond that, I'm way less international than Mallika because she lived in 15 plus countries, a bit less for me. So I would say more a nomad Auvergnat. So I've spent quite a bit of my time in my hometown in Clermont, and it's only lately that I discovered the world really and traveled actually across many countries with Mallika for work. Now, the way I would say where we are very similar together is the need to have an impact. And when I decided to co-found Koaloo, the thing is, okay, what's driving me? What's getting me to wake up every morning and be happy and motivated? And I thought, okay, you know what? It's to have a material positive impact. That's the thing. It's making a difference in a humble manner, because I won't change the world by myself. No, I don't have that ego, but just make sure that whatever we do makes sense and is useful, and that this is in a way how Mallika and I got along and met each other, but this is also what we're building together. So I'll stop here. That's all I would say about me.
Thank you. So thank you, Mallika and Alex, for introducing yourself. I think what I find really, really interesting when we're doing the preparatory call is how you explained to me that, and we were asking, how did you come up with deciding to go from, I won't say comfortable, but it's always comfortable to be working for a big institution and earn a salary, to venture, go and jump at this more or less at the same time together. And Mallika, you told me, and I thought that was really very interesting and hopefully will interest your audience, that you had identified many years ago that you need a backup plan, that you can't rely just on being an employee of a company, because you can be fired anytime for any reason, or the company can go bankrupt or whatever, something can happen. So you need a backup plan. And you have been, so you didn't just wake up one day and decided, the two of you, let's create Koaloo. You really spent years and years preparing for it, and not just, as we could think, preparing to, let's say, put money aside because you know you're not going to have a regular income for a little while, but also in terms of skills building, network growing, etc., etc. And I find that quite fascinating, and certainly maybe for me was the first learning. Not that I'm intending to ever become an entrepreneur myself, but I think it's certainly a great learning for that. But and I just wanted to mention that right away, because I think it tells a lot about both of you. Now, I would like to start on the first theme I wanted to approach, which was the dynamics between the two of you. So how do you work together? What are your strengths? Because co-founders, again, I'm not an entrepreneur, but my understanding is that you each have to share responsibilities, be complementary, not stepping on each other's toe as much as you can, but not having gaps either. So how do you do that? And I let you decide who speaks first here. I'm not intervening.
Mallika first.
No,
Ladies
I
first.
can start with what's in common, and then maybe Alex can go a bit more into detail. So I think that if you think about it, if you think of it like like a circle, there is a circle of trust. We trust each other completely. And I think this is something between husband and wife that, obviously been successfully married for a number of years, invented new lives every time that we moved to a new country, followed each other. We have gone through some great things and some hard things. And so we trust each other because we know we can always find a way and work things out. So there's a circle of trust. And then within it, I think we really have common shared values. And Alex just explained that. We have a converging vision, and that's important. I didn't say a common vision. I said converging vision. And why? Because as we develop the company, and even, this morning we had a major product call together, we know where we want, we know the destination, but it's like, how do we get there? Does it shift a little bit? We have a converging vision. It can adapt, but it's converging. And then the last thing we have is complementary skills. So I would say we have those common values, a converging vision, and then complementary skills, all with this wrapper of deep trust around. And I think that's the common path. And maybe Alex, you want to talk about sort of the specific things?
Just what I would say is also for the background, we met at work. So I got to know Mallika as a colleague first. So I know where she's really good. I know what she enjoys doing. I know where she's a bit less good. And by the way, I would say, and vice versa. She knows that about me. And that is also very helpful because spontaneously we know how to allocate work between us two. Remember that image that I got from the Australian rugby coach, and he said, the job is to know well enough my team to play by their strength and figure out how I can use the other to compensate for the weaknesses of the players. And I thought, okay, that's a great management lesson, and that's the same thing for us. So there are things where I'm a little bit better than Mallika. There are things where she's way better than me. And this is how we make that work. So which means that beyond the fact that we've got to share the same values, we have a common vision. The thing is, when we have a disagreement, it's much easier at some point to say, okay, who should take the lead if we can't agree on something? And that rarely happens, to be honest with you, because we challenge each other a lot. But at the end, say, okay, this is your area of expertise. Okay, I'm not sure. You go for it. And that helps actually overcome quite a few of the normal challenges you would have when you create a company. That's what I would add.
I was also saying, it's one of the big things, and it goes back to what Magali, what you said in terms of starting a business and it's risky. I think because of this complementarity, we actually, by default, de-risk a lot of things. And so Alex, for example, really vision product, a million ideas a second. Okay. And I'm much more like an executor. So I will, structure, execute, implement. I'm that bridge between vision, strategy to implementation. I do a lot of scenario planning. I'm like, great idea. Let's plan it out. Scenario 1, 2, 3. What could possibly go wrong? Alex is always like, oh, but it's all going to work. It's all positive. And I'm like, okay, mate, just in case. I have a plan A, plan B, plan C. And so then very naturally, we create this space for thinking of ideas, executing the vision, and at the same time being able to de-risk it, which is really so important when you are in startup mode.
Yeah. One more thing, because it's not just about us, frankly. I mean, even though it's a bit today's call about us, but the thing is, there's something that Rumsfeld said a while back. The context was for the second war against Iraq, so I won't get into the politics here because I could speak a lot about it. But he said at least something smart. He said that in life there's the known known, the known unknown, and the unknown unknown, and problems most of the time comes from the unknown unknown. Put differently, your intellectual, mental, dead angles. And one thing we've got in common with Mallika, we enjoy working with people. And we've got our respective networks. Sometimes they overlap. Most of the time, they're quite different. And this is something we do. We constantly scan the friends, the people we really trust, and there are lots of them, to say, okay, what am I missing? And that's also what helps a lot, because then end of the day, I can tell you, end of day debrief, most of the time in bed at 11:30 p.m. That's sometimes a point of issue where I say we should stop working now. But other topic, this is where it's okay. I've seen that. I heard that. What do you think? And it's also constantly crossing what we're hearing just to make sure we're not missing something. And that's also very important.
No, we're blessed to have this really strong network, I would say, of champions who are on the journey with us, who are supporting us, who are, challenging us and giving us ideas of how we can do better, both as, a couple and as a business.
I
So
thought sorry.
go ahead.
I thought it was interesting when we prepared that I asked you, could you consider yourself like macro manager or micromanagers, so that you don't be question or too much what the other is doing? And you said, well, you were both micromanager, which I thought was interesting. But the other thing that I thought that I really liked when we prepared, where you said, well, if when you are in a management position, it's a very lonely, and I think anyone who has reached a certain level on the ladder
What
knows
is
that.
this?
I think there's a noise somewhere, but I don't
Yeah.
know from where. It's not from my side. But so you said, it's very lonely, because when you are the boss, and particularly if you are people are a bit afraid of you because you are quite dynamic, etc. You are always concerned that if you do something very stupid, no one will dare to tell you. And it's obviously one of the negative side of those of alpha type of leadership, is that you can end up having very smart leaders going in a completely wrong directions, because nobody is going to ever dare to raise and tell them, this is a very stupid idea. And even if you say it with nice words, and I'm not even going into geopolitics here, because we have really fantastic examples right now. So when one of you has a stupid idea, and don't call it stupid if you don't want, we can call it an idea that is questionable, challengeable. One day I will learn how to be to speak politics and speak nicely and not use rude words. If one of you has a questionable idea, how do you manage to remove the emotional side of we are husband and wife, and I'm going to somehow criticize I'm going to say his idea, because I'm sure, Mallika, you never have any stupid idea. Instead of saying his or her. I'm going to criticize what he wants to do, and it's already challenging enough to do it at work. How does it work without ended up with a fight when you have those discussions at 11:30 in your bed at night? Sorry, it just made me laugh to think
I
that
mean,
when you
well,
guys
first,
are in bed at
yeah.
11:30, what you do is talk work. But go ahead.
So, I mean, so of course, like all couples, we do argue and fight. Like there's no question there. But I think that when it comes to work, we made a decision early on to put on this like Mallika or Alex work, the mental work uniform. So we definitely have this, we really have these like professional boundaries. And the way that we do it first, I think it comes back to the trust. We both trust that we want the best for the company. So if someone has an idea, it's really because they think it's good for the company. So I think if you start with that intention in mind, then we get curious. Okay, but why? And just this morning we had decided on something a couple of weeks ago, and we were questioning it, and it was Alex who had asked the question. And it was a very in-depth discussion with the whole product team. And so we really try to understand, to get curious and understand why that person has that particular idea. Maybe there's an unknown that some of us have missed. Third, I think we try to create this, we have this framework which we call caring honesty, which is that we're going to say what we need to say. It's like radical candor. We're going to be honest. We're going to say what we need to say, but we care, and we say that in a caring and
Respectful.
intentional way. Right. So as much as we can, we try to explain what we say in a logical way. And then we try to really go into what is the person's intention. And that seems to work very well. Sometimes we've had pivoted on product because we've had this like someone seeing something differently. This morning, for a perfect example, this morning, it was a discussion on a feature for our business that we had agreed on, like, I think 6 weeks ago. And then today, Alex questioned the whole thing. And of course, I was like, oh my God, but we discussed this 6 weeks ago. And then I was like, okay, no, Mallika, actually, maybe the situation has changed, and indeed it had changed. And then we all together had a big discussion about it, and we were able to pivot.
I would say
So
it's typical.
sometimes at work we have opposite view on a topic. It happens regularly. In your case, because I think we have all done it, right? We have all done that we use those buttons that we know are going to trigger something. We know how to create that because we know each other so well in a couple. We tend to. So you've never used that? You've never kind of used that little emotional button to get your points through when you guys are in disagreements?
It's a very good question. I can take this one if you want. Is the first thing is there are two traps in reality for things to turn sour. First thing, assume too much about the other's intention, and second is press the trigger of emotions. So assuming, it means, when something happens, naturally we tend to assume that, okay, the other has got the wrong intentions. She wants to take my job. She wants to undermine me in front of the team, those things. The good thing is, because we know each other, we're married, we had 2 kids, 3 if we add a Koaloo together. No, there's no evil intention behind. So if there's a potential misunderstanding, and most of the time problems come from misunderstandings, probably I'm wrong, or probably I missed something, or she missed something, but it can't be coming from a wrong intent, a bad intention. But the second thing is, when we have it, first we need to try and say it, get rid of it straight away, or as quickly as possible, because frustrations, they grow over time. And that's why we try to address it as quickly as possible. The good thing being married, it's not like we have a 10-hour work day during which we can exchange. It's more or less 24 hours potentially available. So it makes it a little bit easier. That comes with its own challenges, of course, because at some point we need to cut off from work a little bit. But the last one I remember, on playing with emotions. I remember, a long time ago, I was in banking. We had a training at BNP Paribas, and the consultant told us about negotiations, and we were debriefing about the exercise we had done. And at the end, the guy said, "Listen, we lose when you're let your emotions kick in because you lose your rational, you lose the point, you lose face. So don't do that. And he said, but do you know who actually is the best place to get you to lose your cool? And we had no clue because we were young, like 25 years old. Like I said, your wife, your husband, because they know you so well. They know what button to press that in 2 seconds you're turning mad. Just try and say, if to talk about, you say, oh, your mother, oh, look at what your mother, and then that drives crazy. This is the thing to avoid. I mean, the thing, and that's very tempting sometimes because sometimes you're so into it that you say, okay, I want to make her mad because I'm mad myself. But it takes a lot of efforts, honest, just not to press this button and say, stay there, stay focused, avoid the feelings and avoid the mother-in-law topic.
I'm going to, I will only have one of your answers just purely because we have so much to go through that I'm trying to. Alexander, I've seen your question. I think we are going to answer most of it. And what I suggest is we go back to it at the end if you feel that some has not been answered. But the question you're asking are great questions, and they're pretty much at the heart of what we are going to discuss. So going back, again, when we were preparing, you told us that you had a few rituals on how to disconnect, because obviously we don't want you to burn out. I definitely don't want you to burn out. So how do you disconnect? Do you want to explain to us a little bit how you do that, how you manage to put boundaries a bit between professional and private life?
Of course. Okay, so there is absolutely, I would be very happy to hear about a perfect formula because I don't have it. And we do like really trial and error. And as you know, in a startup, as in any company also, there's like really ups and downs, sometimes it's super busy, sometimes less. I feel like I could actually work all the time because it's our baby, we love it. It's like, remember what it's like for those of you who have children, what it was like when the baby was young. You're always there as a parent. It's a little bit like that. So a couple of things that we did do, we put in place, we both love nature. So, and where we live, it's like near the countryside. So we do what I call founder walks. So we'll go for a long walk together through the fields, through the forest, and discuss all the important work stuff that we need to do. And, we know, I mean, first it's peaceful, so we avoid those moments where we would argue. And it's really, it's really soothing for us, and we feel like we're doing work and doing good for ourselves at the same time. The second is that, we do work a lot of weekends, right? So we sometimes have no work weekends, or, one day a week of the weekend where we're not working. I love gardening. Alex has, his stuff. He loves also gardening, but he likes cutting trees more than planting stuff. So he'll do his stuff. And so, we both have our things. We'll also do stuff like we'll go for a run together. And that's the time where we actually don't talk about work. Well, certainly I can't because I'm so out of breath, but so we do that. And then we do things like, we try to really spend time with the children, right? Because, it's super important. And I do daily downloads.
Do you want to remind us the age of your children?
Yes. Quickly. So now they're 15 and 13. And we do, and I do like daily, what I call daily downloads. Alex knows this. I have a structure and a framework for everything. So I apologize for that. That's how I think I need like structure.
Even for sex, mind you. I'm joking.
Okay, but this is being recorded, Alex. Okay. So please. Yeah, so daily download. So I do that with the kids, and really it's our one-on-one time with them. And so these are a couple of rituals that we put in place to essentially sort of manage the ebb and flow of work.
And you were explaining to me about the kids that because you are saying Koaloo is your third child, and but you don't want the kids to feel that they are being put on the side, right? That that now that you have the third child, you don't care anymore about the first two. And so how do you dealt with it? I understand that you got your kids a little bit involved as well in Koaloo, that you made them part of the adventure. So it's not co-founders of, it's not you two as co-founders, it's kind of a family co-founding, is it?
Sure, I can take this one if you want. First of all, the disclaimer: there is no child labor involved. I don't want to get in trouble for anything. So just to be clear, but there's some support. So, but To answer your question, first, there is a rule, and they know that rule, is then if they need us anytime, we'll make time. Even if we're busy during the day, during the weekend, etc., we'll always make time. So they call us, say, my train has been canceled. I need to go to school. Say, no problem, I'm coming. I'll pick you up. I'll take care of it. That's the number one rule. The second thing, and it's true, it's a bit easier to have teenagers as kids when you're launching a business than when they are toddlers. Because when they're toddlers, whatever happens, you have to be there. And sometimes it's a bit tricky. Now, the thing is for instance, on the weekends, they enjoy spending time in their rooms, playing or doing other things. That gives us spare time. When they were younger, we would not have been able to do it in such a way. So the rule generally, especially on the weekends, is we work before they wake up. And thankfully, they are teenagers, so they wake up late now. So we work, and as soon as they're awake, we close the laptops. We're with them. When they decide to go back to their rooms, we open the laptops. Sometimes we do gardening. So this is also prioritization. Weekends, holidays. Really, we maximize the time with the kids, and this is the rule with them. But the last element, this is what you were referring to, Magali, is that they're also involved because it's a family project. When we created the company, we're very clear it's for the family. It's not just for us, it's for them. And we say, okay, how can we make sense out of that for you? And what was very nice is that you could see that they wanted to help us. And for instance, at some point, we're talking about creating, an app to assess the potential financial impact of our solution on the buyers. And our Louis say, yeah, but actually I can make that app. And we're discussing at the table with them for a dinner and say, are you sure? I say, yeah, it's fun. No pressure. I say, no, I'll do it. And so we spend time together, not a crazy amount of time, or not to the detriment of his school and anything, but he did it. And he was super proud to put that app at the end and the bottom, say, made by Louis Lhéritier for Koaloo.fi. And I thought, okay, yeah, let's keep it because, he's proud of it. I'm proud, and we are proud of our son. And he learned something also out of that. And the little one was, he's a bit younger, he's not into coding yet, but he wanted to be part of it. So I said, you know what, you're recording a video for this demo, whatever. Let me do it. I will take the phone, I will record it, I will tell you where to see it, what to do. And that was a Wednesday afternoon activity for us. We had fun together. It's always them asking. That's why I said there's no child labor. But the thing is, it's how we can also turn that into an opportunity for us to be together and have fun and insist on having fun. It should not be seen as a constraint. And second, also to get them, to improve. For instance, the eldest. Now, when he's on holiday, sometimes he tells us, okay, can I come to the office with you? And he's spending time with our data scientists. And he's part of the discussions. And the point is, look at what real life looks like. He wants to become an engineer. Okay, you can spend time with the engineer, figure out what he's doing, challenges, etc. It has to be useful. And the last point is, if it's for any relationships, for it to make sense, it has to be a win-win. And that's the same thing with the kids. They had to get something out of that. If they lose, no point.
Mallika, do you want to add something about the family setup, the family Koaloo setup?
Yeah, no, of course. Listen, Alex and I believe strongly, and we've always done so in, working hard, trying stuff, right? And that it pays off, right? So, and I think this is really important in a time when so many people, and certainly so much of the young generation is focused on instant gratification, and they're really focused on their screens and just, instant feedback. And this is a way for them to say, like, listen, and to see firsthand that, in fact, I think that you should take risks in your life. I think you should try stuff. And yes, it may or may not work, but that's absolutely okay. And then secondly, actually, this is what it looks like to really apply yourself, to bring all the different kinds of skills that you have, that you've accumulated over time, right? And apply them. And at the same time, it's totally possible, no matter what stage in your life you are, to also learn new skills. So I'm very, very keen for our children to learn that from us by seeing how implicated and how intense it is for us, and at the same time to experiment with it themselves.
Now, I would like to move on to another topic, which is you've talked a lot during your introduction and all across what you've been saying so far about values and principle. Now, I think we all have, or we all want to believe we have values. We all wake up in the morning with the idea that we do have values until we hit the world of realities. And we end up at corners of where we have to make choices and decisions, and values cost. They can cost money, they can cost, they're fantastic things to have, but they can cost money, they can cost a job, they can cost a lot of things, right? So it requires a lot of courage to keep those values alive, especially when you start entrepreneurship and you are dealing with priorities all the time. And I know you are both very courageous. I'm not questioning that. I would like more if you could explain a little bit, how do you deal with that? How far are you ready to go to stand by your values and to stand by what you believe in?
I think this is a fantastic question, how far are you willing to go to stand by them? So I think that Alex and I, this is one of the reasons when we met, we clicked immediately. And just, for the anecdote, we both met, we were bankers. We met in a bank. When I met Alex, and, we kind of saw that we really liked each other, we were into each other. I sent him like a questionnaire, like one of those
KYC.
questionnaires that you do, a KYC, we call it in banking, know your customer audit. I sent him a questionnaire in the middle of the workday that he had to complete, and questions like, where's home to you? And his answer was correct. He said, it's where you are. Okay.
For the record, sorry to interrupt you, my
remind
love.
me, ChatGPT did not,
exactly,
AI
at
did not
that time
exist
there
at
was
the
no
time. You did not
ChatGPT, so
even.
it was really my answer, promise.
So, I mean, for me, I've always been someone who's values driven. Also, I think as a woman and in a minority working in certain kinds of industry and situations, I've always found myself to be, one of the only women or minorities. So for me, this has always been top of mind. And one example that I can give to you, beginning of my career, and I was in a bank. We were the team, and I was the most junior person in the team, right? We were hiring a person, reviewing CVs, the CV of the, great candidate who was African American, who was, incredibly talented, had all the accolades, the grades, etc. And, there were some very derogatory comments about her being African American, and really, will she be a good fit? And at that time, I was the most junior person around the table. Really, it was a moment where I was like, should I, she's not here. I could totally stay silent. It wouldn't matter. But that's not who I am. I must say something. But I always say things in my way. And I remember saying, interesting conversation, but, I guess the real question is, does she have the skills to do the job? And my goal was to turn the conversation back to actually what we needed from the candidate to do the skills. And I always have tried to do that. So really, I think the question is really, I always have tried to really live my values. And what we put in place in our company are two things. One is caring honesty, which is that, we will speak the truth. We will speak the truth to each other, our teams. We encourage that. And to our investors and our partners, we have actually said no to investors, to partners, because we felt like they didn't share our values. That's really, so, yes, we could get a lot of money, extra more funding by saying yes, but we made a conscious choice not to, because we felt like they were not aligned with our values. And the second is the way of working, which I've always put in place. It's not very sexy, I'm sorry, but it's called FRFC, fair, respectful, factual, collaborative. And it's kind of a framework that I put in place. And I've always rolled it out across the teams. And it's almost like a joker, because, when let's say we're in a deep conversation, deep discussion, and we can stop and say, is this really FRFC? And it makes everyone pause and go, actually, let's really think about it. Are we following those rules? Alex, do you have something to add to that?
No, totally in line. I mean, recently there's a client we decided not to pursue because the values were not at all in line. And the way we look at it is, if we can't, we don't have to be the same. We should not be the same. But if we disagree with the values, and what we want is to bring transparency in supply chain. So I won't get into the details, but where you clearly see the others, they don't want transparency. They say there's no point wasting time getting there because we'll compromise ourselves. We'll lose our credibility and our reputation in the market. So always keep in mind the long-term value or long-term impact. One example I will give is on salaries. There was, we hired a data scientist, an amazing guy who built a platform with us at the very beginning. And at some point, he was just completing his studies, and then came the time to hire him. And how to deal with that? And the way we worked on it was simply that say, okay, we checked market data. So, okay, for this guy, this level of studies, engineering, this country, whatever, what's the price range? And then I shared that with him. I said, listen, I'm working on it, but this is the data I collected. This is the minimum, maximum, median. This is what I've got. So this is what I'm working on. If you've got anything, maybe I missed something, or if you think I'm wrong, tell me so. But that was a first step. And the idea here was first, if he fundamentally disagrees with that range, then first, he can tell us so and we don't waste time. Second is say, I'm transparent. So I won't try, excuse my French, to screw you. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible so that I'm treating you fairly. You may have different expectations, but I'm trying to follow a fair process. And then he said, no, that makes sense. That's in line. Okay, got it. We moved ahead. And at the end, he got a better offer. And I said, listen, a way better offer beyond the range. And I said, listen, I've tried, but it cannot fit within our budget. I'm really sorry to say that. I love you, I like you, but I can't. And we managed that because we managed it in a very transparent way. Of course, we would have all loved to find a way to keep him, including himself, and that was nice. But then, because we treated him fairly, and at the end, he's the one who brought us his replacement, and we've hired him. Okay, so he could have said, okay, yeah, it's just, I don't care about you. You were just an employer and now moving on. But because we had that long-term view saying, being transparent, treating people fairly, we took the risk of losing that guy. We lost him. But at the end, the outcome was positive. And this is one of the things where I said, if the demonstration that your values stand by your commitment or your willingness to potentially lose short-term.
So
I think that I would just add to that story is that, in my view, values in general make good business sense. And often we find that as soon as, values versus money, something goes out the door, right? I find that it actually if you're, you can have whatever values, standing by them makes good business sense. And we can see it from a perspective of reputational risk that companies may take, right? And, they may lose because, of course, they're showing they're not aligned with that values. But in our perspective, I think we really benefit from that because, gosh, we have so many champions, right? We have so many people in so many companies championing what we do. And it's because they know, and, we've had people like, I was recently talking to a managing director in a bank who has been championing our cause for a while to kind of, get us into the bank as a client. And she was like, 100% see what you're doing. I know who you are. 100% trust you guys. And I would love to see us working with you. I mean, gosh, that's just wonderful, right? So values just make good business sense to us.
Well, it makes good business sense, and no values you end up pay back at some stage or get the backlash. I mean, it's quite timely for French people around the room, or if you are not French, you can look at the news of a company called Lafarge, where the CEO is being condemned to go to jail. So
6 years.
6 years of jail for a CEO of a major company that doesn't exist anymore. But just to say that it ends up biting your back at some stage. It's a good transition, though, your example, Alex, to one question Alexander asked, which I think we haven't addressed at all, which is about financial stability. So I'm reading the question here. You are full-time funders, or do you have side hustles or other incomes? So how does it work? And you can maybe combine it with a question before, which is a bit related to money, I think, in my opinion, because when you have money, you don't have to ask that question, which is, how do you deal with the kids and care work, housework, nannies, cleaning staff, or do you manage it on your own?
So
go
ahead, Alex.
No, Okay, I'd stop then very quickly. So, in terms of source of income, it's essentially this is Koaloo. We've got a bit of investments from the past, but this is really Koaloo. So, we made a very bad decision from a risk management standpoint. We put most of our eggs in the same basket. So, just to be very transparent with you, so that's something we've done because we believed in it. Now, regarding housework and everything, honestly, we are sharing the work between Mallika and I to do what has to be done. So it's not, for instance, the cooking sometimes will be Mallika, sometimes it will be me. When it comes to cleaning up, it's a bit more me, to be honest with you. But Mallika will spend a bit more time with organizing school studies, after school activities, etc. So there are also some areas, a bit like as at the office, is there are some areas where she's a bit better or more into it than me. But at the end of the day, we really try to keep it balanced so that there's no unfair burden on anyone's shoulders. So that's the way we work around those important tasks on top of work.
I think it's really important to understand that one of the things I always heard about excellence, we try to be excellent every day, but excellence doesn't mean that you're perfect every day. Sometimes your energy levels are at a level where, yeah, you can achieve absolute perfection, but other days being excellent means just being good enough. So will I always turn out like gourmet meals, or will the house always look perfect or whatever? And have I forgotten kids' homework or tests or something? Yeah, of course that happens. I think, the key thing, and it took me a while because I think certainly as ladies, we often grow up with like an inbuilt like guilt radar somehow, is to actually stop feeling guilty and just say, hey, you know what? I literally am just doing my best, trying to juggle all these things. I have a lot of tabs open in my mental browser, and that's okay. Um, I do think that there's this, people outside may look at us and, sometimes we do feel a little bit judged, or like, oh my God, it's not the big gourmet meal, because amazing, I'm not a great cook, FYI. So just to put that on the table, I'm very basic. But that's okay. I feel like I feel like every day we try to do our best. And some days that best is just like the amazing best, and sometimes it's just the good enough best, and really that's okay.
So, and you don't have any side revenues, right? Which was also part of the question. You don't have any other activities that bring revenues. There's also a question from Mercy here saying, have you also invested in other startups, or would you like to do so in the future?
Yes, the answer is yes. Before creating Koaloo, and would we like to do so in the future? Yes, because I think once you've started, you don't want to stop, and also it's an amazing way to learn new things, and also hopefully also make money. Let's be clear, if we invest, it's because we believe in the story. So yes and yes.
I mean, I think by default, right, we've always been really interested and involved in entrepreneurship. A couple of years ago, I helped about 40 women, because I'm, very much into female entrepreneurship. I helped 40 women launch their businesses. But I did it, for free. Like it's just because I wanted to help, and I started an association to do that. Magali and I are both involved in an incubator, so we both advise and mentor startups. Alex, the same. He's involved in other incubators. So I think this is something that we really enjoy learning. We also learn from other startups. We have invested in the past as well. And, right now, obviously, all our eggs are in the Koaloo basket. But in the future, we hope to be able to do so again.
Nice. Thank you. So I think, Alex, except if you feel that we haven't answered all your questions, and please put in the chat, or remove your muting and talk if you think that you have more questions. If not, I would like, with a few minutes we have left, if you could go back a bit and thinking of what would you advise other couples who want to go into that venture. Is there anything you would do differently? Is there anything you have learned positive, you gave us a lot of the positive already, but is there some negative you have learned that to say, oh my God, that's never do that. Be careful. Make sure at 11:30 at night when you're in bed, you don't talk about. And also, so Alex is saying that maybe you could be a bit more clear on how you take a final decision when you both disagreed. But my understanding is that when you put facts into your disagreement, there is no more disagreement at the end, because once you put data and fact, you reach a consensus because there's no more opinion. But if you can tell us, and also from Alex, impact on your connection as a couple, which I guess was not clear. It was clear enough for me, but I guess I know you well, so maybe that's a reason. So, oh, sorry, a lot of questions here, bundled into one, and you guys have 4 minutes each
I will try to be
them.
super quick so that Mallika can jump in, but I will go very, very straight to the point. So when sometimes there is some disagreements and we can't overcome them. That happens, and that's life. The rule is Mallika is technically, legally, the CEO. I'm just the chairman, okay, on the paper. So it means that the way it works is if there's a real disagreement, at the end, say, okay, you decide. And then if you screw up, I'll fire you. No, I've never done that. But the thing is, but she's the CEO. So if there's a disagreement, a few times it happened, a couple of times, no more. But I say, okay, go for it.
That's actually interesting that you have defined in your roles that if you reach that point of not being able via data, via whatever, to reach an agreement, someone is going to take it. So if that has happened, you said it happened a couple of times, and you say, okay, you as a CEO, you do it. Had they had an impact on the couple at all? Did you go back home, Alex, and did not talk to Mallika for 3 days? Or I guess I don't see you not talking for 3 days, but
no, it was just
I wish.
No sex for 48 hours, and then we moved on, so it was manageable. I could deal with that. No, jokes aside, there was no retaliation, thankfully, and I'm not speaking under constraints whatsoever when I say that, of course. But no, it was just that's the rule. It's a bit like working with a friend. It's very hard because to work with your friend, you need to make sure that the friend understands that at some point we may disagree, we may make decisions that are against the friend, but it should not jeopardize the fact that we love each other, etc. So it's very tough. But the rule is no. I understand there's that rule, and we don't cross it, and that's fine. And it really happens exceptionally, which means that okay, it makes sense for us to keep on working together because we can't have a 100% consensus all the time. I don't believe that we should pursue it, but at the end of the day, I always say if you've got constant consensus, there's a bug. If you look for consensus, but there's no decision making in case of disagreement, there's another bug. So Mallika is the CEO. Ultimately, she has to decide. I'm totally fine with that because I don't put my ego there and I trust her. And as we say in philosophy, it was Socrates who said, we're talking often about opinions, and opinions by definition cannot be proven right or wrong. So we have to accept it and say, maybe I'm wrong, so go for it. And that's it. So simple, straightforward when it comes to managing conflict.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
So very quick, the challenge that we are facing in couples is when to stop talking about work, because the trap is we end up constantly talking about work, and sometimes there's an overload. So what I do, I go running for 2 hours on Saturday or Sunday. That's my way to just cut off and at least to clear up my mind. Sometimes we go jogging together with Mallika. I start and then we split ways because we don't have the same, I would say, strategies when it comes to running. But the thing is, even there, sometimes she talks about work, and I do the same, by the way. It's too tempting, but this is something we're still working on, saying, okay, well, say often, my love, we need to stop. 11:30 p.m., we need to stop. Move on. This is where we're not that bad. That's all I would say. The last thing I would add is, yes, working together can work, and I love it because in an ideal world, you can choose the people you're working with, i.e., people you trust and respect, and even better, love. Great. Okay. Most of the time, it doesn't happen. Today, we've got it with Mallika, so I love it. But the sine qua non of it is that we also respect those rules, and we are there is complementarity. If there's no complementarity, it can be very hard for a couple to work together, because then how do you judge the other is better than you on something, you know? So I'd say put together a teacher and a finance guy. Maybe that will work. Maybe there are reasons for them not to work, because they're coming from worlds that are too different from each other. And I'm not judging here which there's a world that is better than the other. So it can work, but it doesn't have to be always like that. That's what I mean. Yeah, to be humble. We were lucky to meet each other.
So
I would say,
Mallika, that will be the last 3 minutes will be yours. And
okay.
if you can put in, if you have something you would do differently in addition to what else you want to answer the questions.
Sure. I would say, so what it means to work together and what advice I could potentially give to others. So number one, as I said, know yourself and know your values. What are the common values? I think that's absolutely critical. Number two, be really intentional. Intentional in why you are doing this, what it would mean for your couple. You don't need to know from the beginning, but be intentional in that you know that things will evolve for you both as a couple, as we've just explained. Number three, to understand the ups and downs, and you know, where is each person when there's an up or a down. I mean, Alex and I tend to stress about different things. So whenever I'm down, he's up, and vice versa. So that actually that balances out. Number four, I would say the risk. So yeah, you know, we put all our eggs into that basket, but at the same time, you know, as we had planned that at some point we would start a business. So we had planned financially for that. So like, what's the risk? What's the downside? You know, etc. That's always taken into account. And I think one thing I would do differently is that I really wish we had started earlier in our lives on the entrepreneurship journey, potentially before we had kids, because obviously once you have kids, the risk is a little bit higher as well, right? So that was actually one thing that I would do differently. So I would say for those who are interested or thinking about it, you know, don't wait. You can be an entrepreneur at any age. And the earlier, the better to experiment.
Well, I think that's a great conclusion word. Thank you very much, Mallika and Alex. There was a lot of insight here, which I'm sure will be very interesting for not just for people who wants to start the adventure, but for everybody in general, including just for your daily relationship as a couple. I know, Christine, there will be recording, isn't it?
Yes,
And
yes.
you will be posting some on LinkedIn. So thank you very much. Christine, do you want to say a final word before we finish?
Yeah, I wonder if any one of you would like to say a word or to make a comment. Alexander, Donovan, Maria, I don't know. No, nobody wants. Okay, that's okay. No,
I think
I
I've been
wanted to be
commenting
sure
on
before, and then
on the chat.
yeah, and then
So
I saw the chat, and I'm very glad to see that it helped you quite a lot, and this is the aim of those webinars. So basically, you will be able to see it on YouTube. I will send you all the links, and then we will also make a post on LinkedIn. I hope that people will enjoy to go back and to listen to this, or maybe we can have also, and we will have other webinars around this dynamics of today and with other people. So thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
And
Have
have a good day,
Bye.
guys.
Take care.
Have
Bye-bye.
fun.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And stay married.
Yeah.